And here we go.
And we are live.
We are live, John.
All right, man. I am John from Red Cell Paranormal, and my co-host and greatest friend.
Wesley from Marlee Paranormal.
And
Yes.
we are absolutely blessed to be joined by a greatly valued member of the YouTube ITC community, a fellow TSC member, and an amazing lady, in the words of Bill Burr. Ray's done so much for our community and excellent content. Our dear friend, the lovely lady, Scarling Rae. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me, boys.
Thank you. So, let's see here. I'm going to start the way I always do. Ray, what got you interested into the paranormal?
Besides random experiences throughout life, I think it would start probably also, I don't know, kind of goes hand in hand with my love for cemeteries, to be honest, as well. I think it all tied in together.
Okay.
I know exactly when I got interested into cemeteries, actually.
Oh, when was that?
October of 1995, when my great-grandmother died.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really confused on why we were leaving her there, and then we hung around long enough for me to explore. It was fun.
How old did you say you were then?
I was 5 at that point. Just
5?
turned 5.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That would leave an impression.
Ironic, because I remember I was 5 years old when my great nana died, and I remember being at the funeral and going to the casket and all that stuff, and I remember asking my grandmother later, why are her hands like that and stuff. Just like a little kid, eh? So I didn't.
I know exactly. I mean, you're just like, why? I think I asked. I was like, why are we leaving her here?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's going on? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they explained it to me, but it was still confusing for a 5-year-old kid. So
yeah, it would be. Yeah. So Ray, you're into cemetery restoration and preservation. Tell us a little bit about how you got interested in that.
I got interested into it because I've just, like I said, I've loved cemeteries since I was about 5 years, since I was 5 years old. I started just going to random cemeteries in my area. And over time, I just got more interested. I tend to geek out over anything I start to get interested in. I will read anything about it. And I started to learn the importance of cemeteries altogether. So that's what kind of brought it full circle. Then the paranormal, of course, brought me to more cemeteries. So that love just kept going.
That's awesome. I've always had the. I'm sorry to interrupt. Is it?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, I always remember being a kid, kind of growing up in the west end of Winnipeg, and they have kind of like a lot of older cemeteries there. And I can remember going through, and we would go and try to find the oldest headstone and stuff like that. That was something for us, and it was this guy over here seems creepy, with little pictures sometimes they had on there. But I would go look for the oldest headstones. And I'd be like, okay, we got to be careful and be respectful, even as a kid walking through them. You know what I mean? And you'd have a friend that would want to do something stupid, and it'd be like, don't do it, don't do it.
I know.
Don't break it. It's already busted up. It's from the 1800s already. Just leave it alone. So I really I'm with you on preservation and everything, and also just being interested in them because I've buried grandparents and stuff like that as a kid as well. So it's always been, mortality has always been a thing for me. So
it really has been for me also, because I'm at this point where I have 0 grandparents left. They are all gone. So I've been to plenty of funerals, but even funerals alone interest me. I don't know what it is, but yeah, going to find the oldest headstone. Trying to keep your friends from being stupid. That's one of my favorite things. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Speaking of being stupid, I saw that picture you posted on Facebook of the war memorial, and that was just awful what they did to that. They had shattered the monument. And
yeah, that really makes me angry. It's a big, oh no, that's a big no-no though.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly by that post, I'm sure you can tell how I felt about that.
Oh yeah, that upset me too. Why would people go and do that to people who have served their country? And regardless of whether you believe in the war efforts or what the government is doing, you don't do that. People who put their lives on the line like that.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I mean, it doesn't matter what side they were on. They gave their life for their country. They believed so much in a cause that they decided to, and I'm reading something now about a lot of hockey players that went over during and like Hobie Baker, he didn't make it back. You know what I mean? Because he decided to do like a last test flight and he died. And just like, guys that were just amazing people that died for their country. And then somebody comes along and smashes a memorial to these people who, regardless whether you like World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, anything of any of that stuff, and it's just like, man, these people need to rest. Let them rest. They died in the most violent way possible. Like, just let them rest. So, I've always kind of been that way with cemeteries and stuff like that. And especially when it comes to war memorials, because, no matter how I feel, and I'm a big conspiracy theorist kind of dude, but no matter how I feel about it, don't do it. My grandfather fought in the war. My great grandfather fought in the war. I had two great uncles. I lost two of them, two great uncles. But other than that, it's always been something big in my family. So, yeah.
Yeah, same here. I've got a lot of people that are in the military in my family. And I actually, at one time, was actually a military spouse in my first marriage. So, yeah, I mean, that gave me a lot more respect for I always had respect for the military. But, going on to on base, it was actually kind of, I guess it's kind of morbid and kind of sad at the same time. But I would go by where they have the chapel, I guess, and I would see funerals, and I'd just be like, oh man.
Yeah.
And so I'm just not, whether what your beliefs are on, what the government wants to do and what war they're making, these people are choosing to fight for our freedom. We actually went to a thing earlier today for Memorial Day, because it's, what's going on here in the United States. And it was real nice. It was actually very touching, the service they did. It was at the cemetery by my house.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I got big respect for anybody, but yeah, definitely more anybody that was in the military, most definitely.
Yeah.
So, what are some things you've done with cemetery preservation so far, Rachel? Where have you gone? What have you done?
I've gone to Galveston. I've gone to Willis. The last one I actually did was Willis. There's also another one called Golden Gate Cemetery as well. I've been through a lot of cemeteries. I've gone with groups, like the Willis one was a group effort. Let's see, and the prior ones I've done, I've just gone on my own. Even like Galveston, I think, and Golden Gate Cemetery, probably those two, because they have some of the oldest grave markers out there. So I mean, a lot of them really need help. And for the most part, like I've done workshops. I've learned how to clean, how to identify certain stones, because, with grave markers, they're made from anything from sandstone, slate, marble, limestone, and granite, and each one is a bit different. And it depending on what it's made out of, depends on how you clean it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something.
Okay. I have a quick question. Sorry, is it all right?
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay, I just have a quick question. It relates to, are you familiar with Zach Bagans? Was actually somebody who brought it up big time back in the day when I was watching Ghost Adventures, and it was called the stone tape theory. And that's anything conductive can be used, you know what I mean? Like water, different types of stones, wood, it leaves impressions, and because it's from the earth, it absorbs those types of things, like, and so
I have an idea.
like, have you ever seen a connection between any type of headstone, or if you've done a session perhaps, and like what, have you ever gotten anything from that or anything? Like, have you found any type of these stones to maybe be a conductor for, a way to speak to the paranormal, or is it just,
As far as it goes with just speaking just upon grave markers, I can't say that I've definitely, had anything of that sort, but I wouldn't say that's, something that's impossible or I'd rule out at all.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering.
You mentioned this earlier about when they have the pictures on there.
Yep.
Those are kind of interesting to do sessions by, I have found. I don't know why.
So. Well, I think you have a face. You have a face to put with the name. Yeah. And so you can associate that, and that in my opinion, I think that would be more of the conversation, the back and forth, and
exactly.
and you feel that you are making a connection to this person,
Mhm.
and that's one of the whole points of it, is that that's a beautiful thing when you can make a connection to somebody who hasn't been here for X amount of years on a physical plane. They may be on a different, but they're not here in a physical body. Like their vehicle has died, and now they are energy or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's just making that connection can be beautiful, but it can also be one of the most horrible things that you will ever feel. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, if you're not careful, that's what I mean. So, but I've had connections, and it's incredible, and I wonder if you have those as well. So, I think we all do, but
Well, I know one time I was doing a session, I think it was I forget which cemetery it was, but I tried to do a session, box flipped off, I think total 2 times, and then I accidentally turned it on a 3rd time, and it immediately switched off. I was like, oh, crap. And I didn't touch anything on it. I was like, well, maybe it's a bad idea. I think I'm going to leave now.
okay.
But that was an interesting situation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My husband made fun of me for that one.
What kind of box were you using, by the way? Can I ask?
Oh, well, that at that point it was the 20-125.
Okay.
Can't decide which one's my favorite right now between the 12-808 and the 20-125. It's a very close call.
I was lucky, actually. Ray Clark featured my 20 to 125 video I just did today. And actually, I've noticed a lot of people talk, and they say that, the Holy Grail, the 12-587 is one of the greatest, and it is. And then you got the PSP7, but they say that the 2125 actually generates a lot more white noise, which then makes it, you can hear the responses a lot better. And so, I'm looking at this thing, and people were like, "Oh, it's a beginner model. These 12-587s are like $300, so they're better."
Oh,
And I'm starting to find that, I'm like listening to what other people are saying and looking at it, and I get varying degrees of success. But honestly, that 12 or my 2125 has like never failed me. It fell out of the damn compartment. It broke, like, the little faceplate came off of it. It still works. Thank God it still works. I love it. You know what I mean? And so
it's great. It's a great radio.
A great little box. It's a great little box. I love it.
And I mean, not everybody likes the 12-587. It's like Steve. I think Steve Holte is an example of that. I don't believe he's a big fan of the Holy Grail.
Yeah. There's a few people, and what happened was with me was that I was not aware of the glitch that happens with the Holy Grail, and it stopped cycling.
I think that's the second mark one. Because there's like there's 2 different. I think it's like that second, whatever. Glenn will know. He'll say it in the chat if he wants.
And so what happened was that it stopped cycling, and then so I started asking it, "Can you make this stop cycling?" And it did it again. And here I'm thinking it's a spirit, and then I get a comment going, "That's actually a flaw in the way it goes. It just automatically stops cycling. It just does it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so debunked." Like right there, this is debunked. So it's not like it ruined my day. I actually thanked I'm sorry that his name escapes my head right now, or his or her name, but I actually thanked them, because here I am sitting there attributing this to a paranormal event, and you got somebody smarter than me going, no, that's a box malfunction. So you
live and you learn. I mean, that's kind of what this field. The beauty of the field is you never stop learning in this field. There's something I truly love.
Zara just posted in chat there. That's Mark 1 and Mark 2. So
and the thing is it's nice that somebody comes in and they're not going like holier than thou, like, well, that kind of thing. They're just like, no, it stopped cycling because of this. And I'm like, oh, well, that's debunked. Thank you so much for the information. I didn't know that.
No, let me tell you how much of an expert I am. No.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. There are no experts in my opinion.
No.
But there's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge out there, which is why I really enjoy the community.
Yeah, if you actually noticed at the end of my session, I did Zara's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 close that we learned last week on Beyond and Beyond. So
I used to do that all the time. I had no idea why I was doing it or why people did it, but having Zara on last week informed us of that, and now when we're doing that, we know why we're doing it, which is awesome. And you know, like you guys are saying, having people in the field that have all this information is just so helpful, and it's not like one person trying to be over top of another person. It's just like everybody helping everybody out, which is just
Yeah,
sweet.
that's the beauty of it right there. That's the absolute beauty of it right there, is that people are genuine and they do want to help, and if they can help you, they will help you. And I'm
Oh,
an example of that. I'm telling you that right now. I am a living, breathing example of a community that helped me and has gifted me many things. And so, like, you know what, man, I can't say anything bad about anybody because, like, I have a para family and y'all know who you are and everybody's a part of it. And, I'm just so friggin' grateful for everything. And that's the beauty of this community. It's just like, here, you need help. We're going to help you as best that we can. Instead of saying, well, I'm going to turn my back on you and then go on a stream and talk about you. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Oh yeah. See,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to hang out with a community like that. So I kind of lurked for a while, and then I saw
Yeah.
everybody was really nice, and I was like, well, go give my hand at this.
Well, I
Yeah.
started with the Huff area and I lurked too, and then I started picking up on the certain people that I wanted to, speak with and learn from. And I obviously spoke and learned from the right people.
Mhm.
And I'm just blessed to be where I am today, honestly. I'm blessed to be with my brother Wes here, brother from another mother. And I just love it. And you're like my sister, Rachel. I love you too. So, honestly, you guys are my family. And without you guys, I'd be a lonely man, crabby.
Oh no, I see all this. I see you guys the same way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
we don't
that's
want a
what it
crabby
is,
John. You crabby John, I don't believe that.
I love you guys.
No, no.
Glenn, I
sorry,
see
my
you in the
sinuses are
chat.
bad. I have my allergies are kicking up.
Well, mine have been too.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it's
that's
been
great.
bad.
Kumite is dead, and if Tonka will come back.
Actually, Glenn, to answer that off topic question for there, yeah, it actually is back. Not even joking. I have no idea what it's. I'm not going to partake in it, but I always just lurk, anyways.
I like to do a lot of lurking in streams too.
Oh yeah, I've gone all over the spectrum of the communities in YouTube. They're interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, my girlfriend's sister was here the other day, just like, and she's like, John, hey, do you, like, do you watch this? And I find when I'm watching something about this, and then it turns out I'm watching something about makeup, and then the next thing I'm watching something about dumpster diving. And I'm like, oh yeah, you can get hooked like that and just go down a rabbit hole and spend 48 hours down there if you drink enough coffee. You know what I mean? And you're just gone. And like, I mean, I've watched some crazy stuff on YouTube. Not like,
done that.
yeah, not like crazy.
Nothing crazy.
I gotta stop after a little bit. I seen a couple of like police shooting things that this group put up or whatever. And I was like, okay, I can't watch this anymore. Like there is a certain stuff I won't allow myself to watch, and I don't know why YouTube would put it up there, but
oh yeah, if you go deep enough into YouTube, you will find some really just out there stuff. It's like what?
Elsa Gate.
Oh,
Elsa Gate. Yeah, that was evil. That was evil. I'm not even gonna go into that one. I'm not even going to go into it, but just say that's evil. That one was evil. One of these days, I'll get the commandant to write an article about it.
That stuff was just nuts. I told my husband about it. He was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like, you don't need to know. Just trust me.
Yeah. Just trust me. Watch what the kids watch. If you have a kid, it's like watch what your kid's watching on that iPad.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, YouTube is just a crazy place.
Yeah, and a beautiful one too, because I found some great people that I love their content and their podcasts as well. I'm a big podcast guy, so I love them. And some of them, they're not all paranormal related. You know what I mean? So and it's just that's one of the beauties of YouTube is that
you got me a couple times.
Yeah, I love it. So. It's my thing. And I love documentaries, and there's so many of them right now.
Oh, I know. I dive real deep into documentaries.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to get this out, guys, before I forget, because last week Rae and I were talking, and she was mentioning how she knew the difference between a coffin and a casket. I have no idea what the difference is. So, Rae, Teach us.
All right. So between a coffin and a casket. So what a coffin, coffins are, the way they're shaped, think of like a vampire style, I guess. They start off very, at the part of the head, they get wider out towards the shoulders, and then they start to go in a little bit leaner. Mm-hmm. And for a casket, it's just a rectangular shape. You can use it interchangeably. It's no big deal. It's kind of like with cemetery and a graveyard. There's actually a difference between the two of those. A cemetery may or may not be attached to a church, as a graveyard is actually attached to a church always.
Oh, cool. Really? Wow.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't actually know all that. So
the things you learn.
Well, I
anyone ever notice how a K2 is the same shape as a casket?
I have noticed that.
Yeah, it has that shape to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've like looking at it, I'm like, this looks a lot like a casket. Like you would see like the old style.
That's like one of the first things I noticed about it.
So is this a marketing ploy?
Yeah, but when they first created them, they wasn't meant to. I don't think it was meant for paranormal. It was just something that was supposed to detect safe electromagnetic fields. But
yeah,
it's kind of ironic that it has, or maybe that's why it got popular, was because of the shape. Who knows?
Well, also people that were living in what they used to call fear cages, where their homes were completely bombarded with EME and EMF, and they were having paranormal-like encounters, whereas there was no actual haunting there. They were just being bombarded by so much of it that eventually it just started going on. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe in the fear cage. I absolutely believe it. I've seen it myself, and it's just completely strange when you walk into a place and you literally feel like you're gonna vomit and fall down at the same time. It's just crazy, you know. Oh, yeah. And so I have experienced that before. It's pretty weird, to say the least. Yeah, absolutely.
So getting back on topic here, Ray, take us through the process of what cemetery preservation and restoration is. How do you start? What exactly is the process for that?
I mean, as far as what goes about for preservation and restoration, I mean, it can go beyond just cleaning headstones. I mean, with headstones, for the grave markers, what you want to know, like I said, you want to know the difference between what you're working with, of course. You want to use something, you need to know especially what you're cleaning with. Because I think it's a non-ionic soaps. Non-ionic cleaners is what you want to use. You also want to use brushes that are either like natural bristles, or basically I usually tell people something that you would use on your car. You want to use something as, gentle as possible, because otherwise, I mean, there have been cases where people have absolutely just destroyed accidentally, grave markers. And it's terrible. Yeah. But surprisingly, you can bring a lot of them back. But again, I mean, it goes beyond just cleaning those up. I mean, there's also cleaning up the area around it. Definitely lawn mowing is one thing, but be careful as you lawn mow. That's one thing people need to know.
Oh, yeah. Lawnmower. Yeah.
Yeah, you can obliterate some things.
Yeah, and check with your hands kind of first before you go around something and it's overgrown, kind of, nobody's gone to visit for a long time.
Well, that's actually a case we're dealing with right now. There's a project called the Conroe Community Cemetery Restoration Project, CCCRP, and it's so overgrown. We've got to take out the trees out first before we can even get started, because it's too dangerous to go over there with the overbrush and all the dead trees. It's absolutely, it's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, that is. I actually just wrote that down there. I'm gonna Google them up later and check them out.
Yeah, this particular cemetery, it was surveyed back in it was surveyed in 1978. It was originally surveyed, but for some odd reason they never did anything with it. And the really cool part about it, this particular cemetery, it does have a lot of it is an African American cemetery.
Okay.
But it's got a lot of interesting people there, and the most interesting person, I guess you could say, that's there is his name is, God, what's his name again? I completely forgot. Slips my mind. But anyways, he's a Buffalo Soldier, and he's the only known Buffalo Soldier that we know of so far to be buried in the county that I live in. So I'm kind of surprised they let this thing kind of go as bad as it has. And the worst part is too, it's right next to another cemetery that's all kept up real nice.
Oh wow! So like they're not keeping the other one up at all, and you've got like it's wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I'm just like, what?
Well, yeah, that is sad.
Yeah, I
I
have
mean,
no
everybody
idea.
wants
So
Like,
everybody
they
wants it.
took care of the other one, but the other one just kind of got left in, stopped being used and just kind of got overgrown and everything. And
well, see, that's what confuses me. I'm like, well, if it got surveyed in 1978, then why did it take till 2011 for somebody to get the idea going and get the project started?
no kidding, that's close to 40
Yeah,
years there, or that's over
that,
That's
over
quite a
40
bit of
years.
time.
Yeah,
that's a good question as
that's
well.
almost
That's
half a
actually a
century.
really good question. I mean, I know some places, I guess they could be state or local, I guess, in the U.S. or whatever, like state, and that maybe they don't have the quote funding to look after it. I
Well,
have no idea.
that
But
was
if
an
you,
issue.
yeah,
Well,
okay,
it was trying to actually find who owned the land as well. That took a lot of work on their part, and that was before I actually got started with this project. Then getting the 501, 503, all that other great stuff,
yeah,
setting
yeah.
that
So
up.
cemeteries can be owned privately, or I'm a little confused over.
Yes. You can
Okay.
actually, yeah, there's all types of different cemeteries. You can have ones that are owned, privately. There are several that, family owned, private ones, public ones. They're all different types.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So technically, if I had enough money, I could buy a plot of land out of the way somewhere, and then set up a corporation or something and bury bodies.
I mean, checking with your laws and whatnot. Yeah, you could.
Wow. No,
I mean,
I always thought that like cemeteries were designated by like a municipality or something like that. I don't know. Like that's my ignorance, but that really surprises me actually.
well, you really don't see family owned, like, just family owned ones much anymore, but there are still
Yeah.
ones that exist from the old times, especially from thinking more like Civil War era is a lot of these where they come from,
Yeah.
or a little
Yeah.
bit after. And
No,
it's kind of nuts. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you wanted to get your own cemetery,
yeah, that would be weird, but I mean, it's like burying bodies is profitable, I guess. So if you wanted to be a capitalist and buy a plot of land and just, hey, I'm going to start a company and we'll, no worries, like,
Oh, I imagine
exactly.
there'd be a lot of red tape with that, John.
yeah, no, I would never be able to do that. I could never, I probably would never be able to eat meat again. So
Oh my
gosh.
God.
so many dead bodies and that I would never be able to eat. I'd be a vegetarian. I'd
You
turn
just
into
went there,
that.
John.
So no. But I was just wondering if that's legitimately something that somebody could do, and in a respectful way, of course, not disrespectfully, but obviously
No,
it's a
no,
business,
yeah.
right? So yeah, that's
Yeah.
really interesting. I actually had no idea that somebody could do that. So like, thank you for educating me on that.
Yeah, I mean, like said, there's probably a lot of red tape and a lot of just hoops you're gonna have to jump through if you wanted to
Yeah.
do that. But I mean, it's not something that's impossible, and
Wow. No,
definitely
that's pretty
profitable.
good.
We all do die.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. What is it? What was the saying? It's like in life, you're guaranteed two things: death and taxes.
Texas.
And then,
Yeah.
and then I can't remember. There was this great hockey coach that said, "What do you call it? There's three things in life you're never gonna get over: death, taxes, and that I'm gonna change the lines." On hockey, the lines, Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm reading. I got a bathroom reader, like the Uncle John's, and it's all
Yeah.
about hockey. So I'm sitting in there reading this, and there's great quotes from guys after the chapters and stuff. And this one coach, is death, taxes, and that I'm going to change the lines. So don't get comfortable. And then, sorry to just get off topic for a second. But Washington and Vegas play tonight, game one of the Stanley Cup Finals. And because Vegas and their expansion draft team there, they beat us, my Jets. So I'm so heartbroken that I need Ovi in the grade 8 to Washington to kick their butt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Capitals dynasty of the kind of mid to right after the Islanders in the 80s there. They had that couple of hot years, and then the Jets came in, and boom, that was it. Once Solani came in the league there for a bit.
Oh gosh, yeah, Canadians and you hockey.
Oh, I love it.
A lot of people love hockey. Even the United
Yeah.
States is a true thing.
Well, hey, in
Yeah.
Texas, you guys got, you know, the Dallas Stars. They used to be
Yeah,
the
we do.
Minnesota. They used to be the Minnesota North Stars when I was
Yep.
growing up, and then they transferred. So yeah, and then now they're the Minnesota Wild here. So or you know, in you know closer to where I am. So
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so it's just interesting. You know,
Ooh, I just
I love
noticed
my
something in
hockey.
chat. No, Max brought up something. I have my own cemetery. My house is built on a graveyard. I actually just read recently there is a subdivision that my husband kind of grew up nearby. They actually apparently built a subdivision over a very old cemetery. And it was yet
Wow.
again an African American cemetery that a lot of people didn't know
Oh,
about. And it was the rumor
okay.
kept going around and people finally figured it out. So I don't know what they're going to do about that situation. That sounds like a bad.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
see how they didn't know. I just read that article recently, and seeing that in the
It-
chat, I was like, "What?"
Is it like these people are they're like, oh well, they've been gone so long, nobody's gonna notice. Like
I
you know.
kind of feel that was the situation because
Yeah, that's just my immediate gut feeling was like, oh well, they've been gone so long, nobody's gonna notice. And if it is a completely African American cemetery, who knows the paranormal activity that might be going around there?
that's what I was
Because
thinking as well.
because
Yeah.
if they
Speaking.
passed away very, very, you know, like early, like you know, in the 1800s, and that if they were, some of them were slaves. I mean, a lot of them brought over not Santeria, but what do you call it, voodoo and hoodooism and stuff. So there might be some, you know, some crazy attachment stuff going on in that with
Well, that
those
makes me
people
think
as
of.
well.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It makes me think of Old Town Spring, though, which is a little old town. Old Town Spring. It's about 10, 15 minutes away from me. They say that the Indians that inhabited the area actually put a curse on the land. So anytime you build
Yeah.
on it
Oh,
or cut
wow.
a tree down, that stuff would catch on fire. And lo and behold, stuff catches on fire for absolutely no reason.
Yeah,
I
that,
try to debunk it as best I can, but some things, I think Wanchi's Brothers Cafe was the one that I really, nobody can debunk it all. Like they can't figure it out. Yeah, it
yeah.
burned down. They built a new unit on to the cafe, the original cafe, and it caught on fire.
Honestly,
Holy.
you want to know what my beliefs are with that is that the Aboriginals were in touch with whatever magical force or any like they were the ones that were able to manipulate that. And that's something that wasn't always passed over. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's not like somebody's got like hands that are glowing, they're gonna you know, like people think. But I mean, you have like in the Second World War, for example, the United States was after the German campaign had ended, like in the in the you know, sorry, my mind's off right now. But when in the Pacific campaign, thank you very much, baby. In the Pacific campaign, what happened was that the Americans wanted to try to conjure something, and the Japanese had already surrendered. And
mhm.
the Japanese had said, "You cannot use these captured Japanese." They had said, "You cannot use our gods. Our gods are native to this island. You are not. So you cannot invoke this." And the Americans tried anyway. And
Oh,
apparently,
jeez.
like aircraft carriers almost flipped right over and stuff. There was crazy windstorms. And there's accounts of this and stuff like that. So I've always found that, you know, like the people that were honestly here first, the Aboriginals in everywhere, they're the ones that are most connected to that, and they're the ones when they cast bad juju on a place, watch out. And
I
you need
firmly
to be
believe it.
very respectful.
I really do believe that because I mean, it is bizarre. Why do things keep catching on fire in this little old
Mm-hmm.
town that's been around so long?
Uh-huh.
It's just bizarre, and even the fire, even false alarms have been set off at the. They used to have a fire. The fire station was actually located in the town of Old Town Spring. It's now been relocated, but when it was located within the town, they used to get false alarms even too. On top of that, that fires were going
Wow.
off. Even I think twice they got an alarm that the fire station itself was on fire, and it wasn't.
Oh. Wow.
So they're walking around. What's going on? Nothing.
So it's
Like
kind of
this is
bizarre. It makes you think.
Well, absolutely, because I've walked onto Aboriginal burial grounds and stuff like that, and grottos where things had happened, and I've always said, like, I honestly respect the Creator. I don't say God, I say the Creator, because
Mhm.
in Canada, the Aboriginals, the story of them in Manitoba, Manitoba comes from Kichi Manitou, which means where the buffalo roam.
Yeah.
And so that's my province's name in Average. I can't remember the exact language, but I think it's the Assiniboine or the Ojibwe. And so I learned a lot about that. And you need to be very respectful, and you need to let them know that, like, I respect the Creator, I respect you. I'm not here to do any harm at all to anything. I respect your traditions. I'm just simply living here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's something, is that if you honestly, or if you give them an offering, you burn sage or something or whatever may be needed. If you get a help of a medicine man or a shaman, that might help as well. But as long as you give them respect, they will always treat you fairly.
The
That
Old Town
curse may not
Spring.
hit you.
I don't know with
So
Old Town Spring though. I don't know what they're gonna do. They just
yeah,
gotta not build on it or cut a tree down because otherwise, stuff might catch on fire. That's all I know. The
they
Indians that were they're called. I think they're the Arpeesiac Indians.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's the Indians that were around. They actually where my parents live too. They used to roam over there too, apparently.
Oh wow.
So, and they're pretty bizarre. They were cannibals as well, supposedly.
Actually, there's a woman who, and this is paranormal related, but it's actually about the Bigfoot. And there was a woman, and I can't remember her name right now, and I'm sorry, the name escapes me. She wrote a novel, she wrote a book in the early 1900s, and she spoke about when Bigfoot would come through. And what happened is
Oh,
is that when the male hunters would go out to go and hunt, they would leave the women and children behind and the elderly. And that's when the Sasquatch or Bigfoot would come through, and they would take them and they would abduct them, and they would never see that person again. And what happened was that either they took them to cannibalize them, or these people ended up living with them in their society. And what happened was this woman said that what happened was is that the Bigfoot stopped using fire because they would see them on the mountain. They would 300 feet up. They would see smoke, and they would know that that's where they were taken. And the warriors, the hunters, would go to try to get the women back and stuff like that, and they would find them cannibalized, cooked, stuff like that. And if I can't remember her name, but it's out there. There is a book out there where this
yeah.
woman talks about this incident, and she witnessed this over from her childhood through the course of her life. She witnessed this, so it's very
I want the
it's
name of that
very
book when you figure it
I,
out.
I, I know I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back through the records and through my research that I'm doing with Able Danger, because that's where I found it. Project Able Danger, a guy named David Hawkins and another one named Field McConnell, and that came up. And so I was just really interested. I just wanted to throw that in there. Is that there is an actual eyewitness account that's very old, and that's what they talk about, and that's why the Bigfoot stopped using fire, was because they could be located that way. And so
That is
now they've learned to live without fire, and they
Hmm.
stopped using it.
whoa.
Very strange, I know, but it's
Yeah, I need to read that book. That's all I know at this point.
I, I I'd
Hmm.
love to find it. I'd love to find it somewhere. It's probably in like a library in the US, like some kind of thing that you could access and download it. You know what I mean? And
Oh
as
yeah,
soon
but
as I find it, I'm putting a link in TSE. So I'll look for it. I
please.
swear. Yeah.
Right on.
I'm a readaholic.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a library in my house, so I got a lot of books.
Oh, I do too.
So
Mhm.
going back to what we were talking about before, we were talking about how this place is built on like a graveyard or cemetery, or whatever, or
Mm.
burial ground. But as far as cemeteries, or graveyards, whatever, what are some things to keep in mind if you're planning on doing an investigation there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd
Um,
like to know that.
Well, I'd say first and foremost, if you're planning to do an investigation, get permission. By far, I'll tell you a story real quick. My friends decided that we should go to a cemetery at night. We're 16 years old, being, they want to be stupid. I told them I didn't think it was a good idea. I didn't even get out of the car. A man comes out with a shotgun threatening us. And this is Texas, so everybody here has a gun.
Isn't Texas a castle state as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so he would have been justified in using that too.
He was very justified. Yeah, he didn't shoot at us, thank God. But
no, thank goodness.
But yeah, getting permission and if they're some cemeteries have posted signs, some don't. If they don't, I would say just you can look up your laws wherever you may live. Like for the state of Texas, for instance, because there's a lot of cemeteries around here that don't have posted rules and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But getting permission, I think, by far is step one is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking around here online for Peterborough cemeteries, seeing if there's any rules or anything like that. I cannot find anything, so I don't know if that's like you can do whatever you want in a cemetery, or or they just don't have them posted anywhere, or what the deal is there. But I've been looking around, can't find a darn thing, and
I'll look into it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
if you find something, let me know. Shoot it my way. That way I'll have an idea.
This brings me to I'd like to go to my grandfather's cemetery and my papa's and do a spirit box session there just to try to talk to him. And I guess I would have to phone the place and ask them if that's okay, I guess, But I'm not going to do a full investigation of the entire cemetery. I just want to sit on the little bench and then, just kind of do it right there.
Well, in that instance, you would probably be okay, in my opinion. If you want to check, which I advise people to check, especially if you're doing something at night, which, people tend to like, to do things at night, even though I think day or night doesn't matter. But
no, I would do it during the day, but yeah.
Usually when you're related to somebody and, there's pretty convincing proof right there that, hey, I actually am related to this person. As long as you keep the noise level down, you're usually pretty okay. Because that's the other thing too, is just being aware of how noisy you're being.
Yeah. Well, I would go with complete respect. I'd even call the cemetery beforehand, just out of respect, just so they know. You know what I mean? Just so they know.
Yeah, I mean, I always advise that it's best, in my opinion. But I mean, it's not even uncommon for people to just hang out and have a picnic, but in a cemetery. I see it all the time here in Texas. Yeah. People hang out and drink beer by graves. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Well, honestly, when the good Lord punches my ticket, I want people to celebrate. No, I don't want people to cry.
Same here.
And I don't know if anybody's seen the documentary series on Netflix called Wild Wild Country. It's about 6 episodes long. They're about an hour apiece. It's about a cult that took over a small town called Antelope, Oregon. And so anyway, there was a woman. Her name was Ma'anan Sheila. She was the secretary for this guy named Bhagwan Rajneesh, and he was the guru. And when her husband died of Hodgkin's disease, Bhagwan told her, "Don't shed a tear in front of your dying husband, or it'll make it difficult for him to die." And so she didn't shed a tear as they were, and it was really interesting. And I tell everybody to watch that because it's just something that's like, wow, you're going to think, okay, cult, whatever, but it grabs you. And it's just and I just read, if you got Netflix, watch it. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to say Netflix, I'm on that.
And also another good one in Netflix is Evil Genius. It's about the guy that had the bomb strapped to his neck with and he went to rob the bank with the cane shotgun.
Yes.
And that's really interesting. Check out Evil Genius. So now that I steered us off course again, we should probably get back on course with the paranormal, right?
Well, as far as getting back to cemeteries and noise, it's really a noise, for one thing, just respect, two, also because if there are other people around you too, I don't know how often, for cemeteries that you guys are around, but in our area, people will come up, especially the one by my house, which I refuse to investigate, period, anyways. But even if I see people with inside, I run away. I don't know why, but it's just being respectful towards other people. I think another thing to say is I suggest bringing somebody with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Use the buddy system. Don't go alone.
Yeah. No.
Because if you get hurt, at least somebody else could tell somebody, like, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah, and if you get scratched or if anything there, then you have somebody there that can prove visual proof, or they can like, oh, I did hear this, or they kind of could back up your story for you too. So
Well, exactly, because sadly, there are instances where, not so good people do hang out at cemeteries.
yeah, exactly.
There are some in the area that people like to go and sleep in. They even go and sleep. They'll bust into mausoleums and sleep. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever they want to do, but I mean, I guess if you need shelter, you need it. But
yeah. No, I remember actually reading one of those Reddit no sleep guys that narrates them or whatever, and it was a story about these kids. They went and they decided to go cemetery jumping in the 70s or whatever it was, or the late 60s, and they seen this dude that was completely flipping out in a sleeping bag, and they kind of went to look at him, and he popped out, and his eyes were right huge. And later on, when Richard Ramirez ran to the police because he was being chased down by a mob of angry people for raping and killing all these elderly women, and that he turned himself into the police, and it turned out that was Richard Ramirez in the sleeping bag, and these 14-year-old kids actually ran away from them because Richard Ramirez's uncle was in Vietnam. And his uncle taught him about the earring necklaces and how to sleep in a cemetery and all this. And he would go do that as a child as well. Richard Ramirez, he would sleep in cemeteries because he didn't want to be beaten by his father, or, his home life was terrible. And there was this story somebody wrote. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's fake, but it kind of freaked me out. Imagine being a 14-year-old kid and later on you find out like you could have got killed that night by the Night Stalker.
No joke.
So absolutely, yeah, it's crazy.
Jeez.
So
yeah, I mean, that is a big thing to watch out for, because other people do come around that are not so nice anywhere, not just cemeteries.
Yeah, and you have those satanic panic kind of kids that, they read LaVey's Satanic Bible or whatever, and then they decide they want to kill a cat, and they might, chase you with something, and it's terrible. But, I mean, you even got to watch out for people like that in the evening who don't care about permission, who don't care about desecrating things because they believe it's the opposite. So
exactly. And I mean, that reminds me, there is a cemetery where kids, I think this is probably a little bit before I was born, in the 80s or 70s in Tedder Cemetery, that it was known that kids would go over there and do such things. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It absolutely is. The disrespect that these people can do. And it's according to the doctrine that they read and they misinterpret or whatever. And I'm not going to lie, I read the Satanic Spell Book and I've read LaVey's Satanic Bible strictly for, research
curiosity.
Purposes. Absolutely. And, honestly, in my opinion, the texts are nothing. They are not sacred. There's nothing to them. There isn't any spell work or anything like that. So if there are any Satanists, I'm very sorry if I'm in the chat. If there are any Luciferians, I'm very sorry for insulting one of your religions, as well as Michael Aquino's failed Temple of Set. I really don't by the Egyptian follow through thing where they take more of their beliefs from the Egyptian system and try to apply that to Satanism, modern day Satanism, and it just doesn't, in my opinion, it's ridiculous. But yeah, those type of people, they're very uneducated, and they go out and they do absolutely ridiculous things, and they could be hopped up on you don't know what. And they might chase you, and there's actual defined articles where you can find one man, actually he was a police officer, and he could hear screaming. And so what happened was that, and I can't remember, I don't know if this was in Texas or not, and I can't remember the year.
Would be surprised.
There was an officer, and he ended up, because he was driving home and he could hear this weird noise out in the woods. And so he went out there and he ended up at a cemetery, and they had the girl all stretched out and ready to stab her in the heart. And so he drew his firearm and he ended up killing the leader, and he killed somebody else that rushed at him with a knife because they were trying to. And this is all documented. And I just wish I had notes and everything for this, but it's all documented. And this cop managed to save this woman's life because they were trying to sacrifice her out in the open there. In a cemetery, I do believe. And that man heroically took them on and he saved her life.
Thank goodness. Jeez.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just how insane it can get, with these people. And
especially in wooded cemeteries, which we have plenty of those, at least in my portion of Texas, we have plenty of those that are very wooded. So, I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's almost like you might want to go armed sometimes if you get that vibe. But, I mean, honestly, look up like I do sometimes. I look up the all the Luciferian holidays. Like Valpurgis Day, that's like their Christmas. And you can find a website where you can look up all of the Luciferian holidays and they'll tell you what for and whether or not there will be a kid kidnapped and what happens and all that kind of stuff. And so you can actually find those things. And then so you could stay away from cemeteries. I recommend that, to stay away from them on those types of holidays and stuff if they're,
That's a good point to bring up, actually.
Yeah, that's something that I just thought about actually, and was like, hey, if we're gonna go to a cemetery, make sure it's not a major satanic holiday or something, just in case.
Well, it's funny that you bring up Luciferianism though, because we actually used to have the Great Church of Lucifer in Old Town Spring. It's gone now. People were very upset about that being here in Old Town Spring. Yeah, that was crazy.
Satanists like to kind of lie and say they just believe in Satan, but Satan is not really the Satan that we believe in. Their Satan makes them whatever, and it's, in my opinion, it's all a bunch of hokum. And I'm one of those guys that's like, I hate those "my God is bigger than your God" fights. Whether it's Christianity versus Islam or whatever. In my opinion, if we all bleed red. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it doesn't really matter. And really, we need to start harmonizing with each other instead of shooting each other. And, especially in wars as well, we need to harmonize with each other. We need to harmonize. And that's not happening. And it's very sad. But the one religion that I clash with is Luciferianism and Scientology. So there's two.
That seems to be two of the big ones I hear about constantly that people clash with.
Yeah, those are the two that I'm not even gonna mess with. I don't care what my thetan number is or what.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like at the end of the day, like you said, we all bleed red. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I never judge people upon what they believe, and I'm not gonna make fun of somebody for their beliefs.
Because they are a human being.
I figured we go down to the chat now and maybe allow people to ask some questions of Rachel, anything they want to ask. Figuring what she does. So if anybody out there has got any questions.
Oh, there's a chat here.
Pop in the chat. There is a chat. Yeah, we've kind of been, it's going pretty good there. We've got 14 people in there, which is awesome. Thanks, guys, for
joining us. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we really appreciate you coming to hang out with us.
Do they have more than the Catholics as they have loads? Yeah, Catholics have so many holidays. That is so true.
Yes. Oh, absolutely, yes.
I was Catholic, but
I was too. I was brought up Catholic.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school and all that, and
oh yeah,
catechism.
Oh, catechism.
So, all right. Well, if there are any questions, just pop them in chat, and we'll just continue the stream for now.
Sure.
I'll say another thing too, though. Definitely walk around with caution though too, because I have this in my video that I'm working on from Galveston with monuments and whatnot, the big monuments. It's really sad because I'd read a news article where this 5-year-old child was basically killed instantly by a huge monument that toppled over, because you never know how the ground settles and over time and whatnot, they can slip. I have a couple of examples that I found in Galveston. And another thing too, walking across graves. I think I actually have an example of this on my channel from the last video I did in the Mount Zion, aka the Golden Gate Cemetery. You can actually walk on top of a grave, and I mean, you don't want to do that in general, just out of respect, but also you can fall through the ground into the coffins. Apparently, that's happened.
Scary.
Whoa,
Yeah, I can imagine that's not fun.
Yeah,
No.
stay on the path.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was walking in Lee Family Cemetery, the land where the Lee family used to live, and they had a cemetery up there, and I've showed that on my channel a couple times. But yeah, I'm walking on there, and I'm like feeling indents in the ground, and it's like, okay, what am I stepping on here? I want to go over here, so I'm not stepping on these indents. I don't know exactly what I'm stepping on. Is it like part of the grave? Because we don't know where any of the graves are. But yeah, when you're talking about like falling through the ground and stuff, it's like making me think maybe I need to stay away from these areas where I'm feeling these indents in the ground.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Looks like we have a question. Do you think religion has to play a part in the paranormal?
Very much so.
It depends, I guess.
I
don't know.
I think.
That question can
I'm
go
sorry.
deeper.
Go ahead. If unless.
Well, like, I'm trying to think. Like, do you think religion has to play a part in the paranormal? I don't think it has to, but I think it can.
I think there's a spiritual side for it for sure. I mean, you're investigating the
Yes.
paranormal and spirits and stuff. There's definitely a spiritual side to it. It's almost like a religion unto its own in my head, because you are communicating with people who've passed on, and it's a belief that you have. And religion is really made up of different beliefs. So I think as far as that goes, there's religion in that regard.
I think the bottom line is faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's the moral foundation, or whatever. Every single religion is faith. You must have the faith that, hey, when I pass on, I'm going to a great place. That kind of a thing. If you have that faith and that conviction, then say if you're walking into an investigation with a definite malevolent type haunting, there's definitely sometimes room for religion there.
I think so.
Definitely invoking the name of Jesus, or using the Michael, his prayer, to defend in battle and stuff like that. And so I've always found like some type of religion does work, but and I do think it plays important parts in certain cases, but not every single case. Because I mean, you can do a spirit box session, talk to the spirits, let them know you don't want them jumping you or using your energy, and they'll respect that. Whereas you don't have to use the scream in the name of the Lord Jesus. You can, no, you don't have to do that. But there are some cases where that might happen. So I just feel it does play some part. Religion can help, but it can also hinder, I guess, is my point.
I like this. Brian, I'm kind of going out of order here. Brian, yes, they do actually have. Not all soldiers are buried in military cemeteries, but yeah, they do actually have. That is another type of cemetery, is a military cemetery.
Yeah.
Just clarifying.
I remember early 2003, 2004, when the war was really kicking off, and then those great Westboro Grace Baptist Church idiots were picketing the funerals of the soldiers. And like, God wants you to die or whatever, and the Marines would go over and beat the crap out of these bloody idiots, and so finally they passed a law there where the cops wouldn't let them picket for so many. Because I watched Louis Theroux do a documentary about those people, and it's on YouTube. Louis Theroux in the Westboro Grace Baptist Church. And so, they were picketing military funerals, and eventually they had to enact a law that they couldn't be around them. They had to be so far back, because not only do you have the family, but you've got the unit. So you've got the guy these people that were battle brothers, and they would get angry. They go smack them around, and there's lawsuits. So finally, that was the Bush administration that passed that law. One good thing the Bush administration did. One good thing. Respect for the soldiers. One good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Zara has a question here. What are your tips for newbies coming into the field? Man, there are so many tips I could give people into the field. What do you guys have to say so far? I could just go off what y'all say.
You go.
Always be respectful. Always try to be respectful. Only use provocation when necessary. Try to never use words in anger. Try not to use commands in anger. always try to remember that you're trying to connect with them just as much as they may be trying to connect with you. Um, if you're willing to, sometimes you may allow them to use your energy. I don't recommend it unless you've practiced it enough or, you feel you can handle it.
You'll feel like shit the next day, that's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not lying. You're not lying there. And like, to quote CW Channer, if I'm lying, I'm dying. So, but always take your batteries out of your spirit box.
Yes.
Never leave them in there. Never leave them in. And you trust what you hear, but also, ask for help because sometimes you're going to hear the radio and you're going to get pareidolia. And I'm a living case of it because I remember posting one up and order of magnitude was like, dude, you're not right now. You're doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
So
I would
don't
say,
ever be afraid to ask for help.
I would say one
that's
of the things to keep
thing.
in mind is to try to keep an open mind, but also not be afraid to say something isn't paranormal if it isn't. Like if you're doing an investigation and something strange happens and you don't want to just automatically jump to the conclusion that this is paranormal.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I can't think of anything
Absolutely.
off the top of my head, but I know there's been times.
Well, you want to try to debunk what you can, use
Exactly.
use logic, try to find a logical way to explain something.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, I do remember one. Just last week, Darlene and I were over at Armor Hill, and the K2 started going off, and it wasn't going off before. And I'm like, okay, do you have your phone on you? And she's like, oh yeah, it's right here, right beside it. I'm like, okay, well, you need to move the phone away from the K2 meter because that's what's making go off. She's like, oh, I didn't know that. So think little things like that.
Another
So,
little, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Actually, is it okay if I talk? I'm sorry. I'm just
okay
on
if I
off.
talk.
I've just had kind of an off couple days, so I'm sort of off.
How dare you talk?
But,
No.
no, but another thing too was always when you're doing a spirit box session, especially if you're recording with your phone, put it on airplane mode.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, because I do it with my phone and you'll get extra static. Like if you move it closer to the box, especially the 2125, if you move your phone closer to the box and it's not an airplane, you're going to get that and it's going to come back. So that's one thing. Always use it in airplane mode. So I can't remember who told me that, and I've always done it since. So that's
I actually just turned my Wi-Fi right off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just go on my phone and I'll just turn my Wi-Fi right off if I'm doing paranormal stuff.
Yeah, another good tip is do not trust Steve Huff. Don't even watch his
Well, that's just a given, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
if you want to hang out with us cool kids, you don't hang out with Steve Huff. You don't drink Huff's Kool-Aid, man. You come drink ours instead. There's nothing in it, so it's just Kool-Aid.
I don't know if that's so much a tip as it is a rule.
I'd say one thing is remain teachable, I think is one thing that I would say.
Yeah.
Keeping an open mind and remaining teachable. That's something I think I've stuck by.
Steve Bluffness, right, Brian?
You're actually very right. This guy I like to watch named CW Chanter, he always says sometimes you got to watch, even if you're watching something and it's a totally different viewpoint of yours and it makes your teeth want to shatter, sometimes you still got to watch those people just so that you understand that you're not on one side of the argument. You need to understand both sides of whatever the debate is or just anything, And I always live by that is just do your due diligence as well.
That's a really interesting question. We all deal with scary things, but is there anything that really gives your crew the creeps? I kind of like that question. I'm trying to think. What gives me the creeps? I'm pretty creepy on my own.
The creepiest thing for me would have been I was living in an apartment building, and the only evidence of this that I have is on an old flip phone, and there's 2 pictures on there. And this whole apartment building was literally festered, like it was just inundated. And I found the history out on this place, and there were there was a murder suicide, there were suicides in the 60s. There was a lot of deaths that had happened at that location throughout the years, and the entire place was haunted. The lady down, we lived on the second floor. There was only two floors, you know, up and down. And so the lady down and across from us, there was an old lady that lived right across from us upstairs. So we'd go down to this lady Janine's place in the middle of the night, and you would hear swing music, you would hear people talking, you would hear people glasses clinking and stuff like that. And then the bedrooms, everything was built symmetrically, so everything was the same. So wherever her bedroom was, that was Janine's bedroom here. And you could hear the old lady snoring. But there was a complete party going on in her house. And then I used to have, it was a long hallway. So when you opened the door, the bedroom was right there. And then you had a closet where you hung your stuff up, kept walking, bathroom. And then it opened up into a little kitchen and a living room. And I had hockey cards and that put on there. And I have like accounts of my friends that were there that watched like something go and my cards would fly off the walls. I'd wake up in the morning and one would be on this side, one would be here. They'd fall down and they'd be taped together. So you got Wayne Gretzky here and like, I don't know, like, you know, somebody over here, and they're both laying in the bathroom. So that's all the way across the hallway. And it would throw things at my ex-girlfriend. Like it threw a empty bottle of gin at her head that was on the fridge.
Oh, not gin.
Yeah, Bombay. Yeah, Bombay. Back when I used to drink Bombay Sapphire. I know. And what it got so bad that we had to sleep in shifts. And I remember one night she woke me up and she's like, you know, sweetheart, wake up. And I'm like, huh? And all I heard was boom. And she started screaming bloody murder. And the light fixture was rattling. So it was like it smashed the ceiling or something like that. It was crazy, that house. And one night I was brushing my teeth and she was getting water and she walked into the bedroom and just dropped the water. And she's standing there shaking. And I walk in and there's two handprints on the window, big handprints. And I'm going to try to get that picture because I have that phone. I've kept that phone all those years because you can actually see in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the entity. You can actually see it. It's crazy.
Wow.
And it's an old flip phone, and I got to get those pictures off.
Yeah, you got to get that.
Yeah, you definitely do, man.
It was so eerie. It was one of the eeriest things that I've ever had happen. And then we ended up moving out to Hamilton, Ontario, and in Stony Creek. And she left a little bit early and I was packing up the apartment. And as I was packing up the apartment, I could just feel this sadness come over the room. And I think there was like, you know, there was so many different spirits, but I think it felt like a little boy spirit, like, you know, oh, I'm not going to have these hockey cards anymore. Like that, you know, and I got this sadness, you know, it was really weird. And that's one of the most eerie things that's ever happened to me in the paranormal ever. And I know it has nothing to do with a cemetery, but that was honestly one of the freakiest things that has ever happened to me in my life.
Well, John, that gave me goosebumps. Literally gave me goosebumps on that one.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to think on mine. I would think investigating places where I know that terrible things have taken place, I think is kind of, especially like in just mass terrible things have taken place. For instance, like a prison is a great example. Somebody said a mental asylum. That's another one. That's a great example. Sometimes that just all, I guess, just the energy of itself, you know, all that energy not being so good kind of does creep me out a little bit when it's just like overly abundant.
Yeah.
That might creep me out just a bit.
I haven't had anything or can think of anything that would actually creep me out. I'm actually, when it comes to the paranormal, pretty fearless. So I don't have anything at all.
Yeah, it's really hard to think about.
That was early on for me, you know, that kind of a thing. That was many, many years ago. So, you know, that was one thing that really tripped me out. You know, I thought I kind of knew more than I did. And you know, that was just really freaky.
I can imagine if I had an experience like that, though, that would probably creep me out, though. But anything that has ever, I haven't had anything that's actually happened to me that I could say has creeped me out. But if something like that did happen, I'm sure I would. Well, I don't think I would run because that's just not in me to do that. But I would definitely be a little bit Scared, probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was scared. I'm not even gonna lie. I was scared.
I'd be
So
scared.
I was scared. I was afraid. I was holding
Well,
her
it's
because
just
I was trying to shush her down. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
she's screaming blue murder at 3 a.m. and so this is going on at the witching hour. And so I'm holding her and I'm like saying the Lord's Prayer at the same time. And finally it subsided. And because it was like banging all around the room, you know, kind of thing. And it was so crazy, you know, it was just like, whoa.
I
And
mean,
get, we lived beneath the super. All right. We lived beneath the super. The next day, I went downstairs. I knocked on the door and I said, "Did you hear my girlfriend screaming last night?" We didn't hear nothing. I was like, "How could you sleep through that? That's impossible. That's impossible." It's, you know, I was like, "That, how did you sleep?" We didn't hear nothing. Meanwhile, I'd have a friend over, and if he walked too loud on the floor, they'd be hammering it with a bloody, you know, a broom, but they didn't hear her scream bloody murder. You know, like it sounded like somebody was trying to kill her. That's how scared she was. She was literally
Wow.
screaming that loud. Oh yeah. And so it was just like, whoa. But they couldn't hear it. Nobody in the building heard her scream that night. That's weird.
well,
And
I'll say
that's
one
all.
thing about fear. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, fear
No
is
worries.
just it's a natural emotion. You know, that's just something we naturally feel. Fear is nothing. I don't think there's any shame in having fear.
No,
Just
not at
how
all.
you know, there are ways to deal with fear, though, of course, but
Yeah.
but having fear in general, I don't see that as a bad thing or a downfall in the paranormal at all.
No, no,
That's
you know, because it connects you. Your fear is your fight or flight too. So it
Mm-hmm.
really helps you connect and become aware of that. And like nowadays, you know, if I'm doing a session, if I'm gonna, you know, I have plans to go somewhere now that the snows have melted and that and everything. So I'm gonna go places, and you're gonna hear me get, you know, something. I'm gonna go, whoa, like, you know, because like
Yeah.
I've said before, my fear turns into an adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I get something, if I'm a little creeped out, I get the adrenaline rush now, where it's like I want to keep going. You know, so it's like it's kind of weird. You learn to deal with that, but then there's something that might happen that might make you want to like pee yourself a little bit. You know, but you know, it's like I think you think you're ready for anything, and then all of a sudden something comes at you, and you're like, "Holy crap!" But and that's happened to me before. But you know, honestly, that's yeah. I'm trailing off now. Sorry.
Let's see. I see. Has Ray experienced an attachment or witnessed one with someone she knows? Supposedly, somebody in the group that I'm with had issues with an attachment. I didn't really get to witness what was going on with that person. Myself experiencing an attachment. I'm not going to say that has happened quite yet. Not saying that's impossible though, because the person that's in our group, I fully believed him on that.
Oh yeah.
The way he was acting, he was terrified.
No. I felt that feeling where they try to jump you, and it's like an anxiety attack
Mm-hmm.
added with a heart
Oh.
attack added with just, you
Yep.
know, literally, it's just it's one of the most crappy feelings in the world.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it sticks with you for a couple of days, especially if you don't expect it or, you know, something like
Yeah.
that, and it just hits you out of nowhere, and it's like, whoa.
Almost feels like having
And
the flu. Almost feels like having the
yeah,
flu.
yeah, pretty much. You know, it just drains you, is what it does. It's almost like an energy vampire. That's what they call them, but
Yep.
you know, I don't call them that, but I've heard the term anyway. So
Yeah, that's how this guy in our group kind of described it as. It was like, yeah, basically a constant, you know, panic attack for this guy. And I mean, he
yeah,
pretty much, he was not going on investigations with us anymore. He just kind of hung back and laid off from everything completely.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it is healthy after experiencing something like that to kind of take some time off, and
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it just turns people off. You know, so they just kind of shy away. But if
Mm-hmm.
something like that happens, I don't recommend going back that night. You know, if you get something that, you know, you should probably go home, relax, you know, do some nice things, have a nice bath with some Epsom salts and that, and, you know, consider it tomorrow kind of thing or whatever. You know, if you're really feeling like you're attacked, I don't recommend you should stay like they do on
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Adventures and stuff like that. Like, you know, they think they got something to prove. You can always go back another day.
Yeah,
Don't
safety is the
Exactly.
risk
most important thing.
don't risk your health. Don't risk, you know, life and limb just for evidence.
No, never. It's not worth it.
No, it's really not in the end. And we love it. This is what we're here to talk about. But when it comes to you or something else, you're number one. And always remember that. Everybody listening, everybody in the chat, your health, your everything is number one, not the evidence. You can always get evidence again. You can always go back.
Exactly.
So that's one of my pieces of advice too. You can always go back.
I know, I agree. Yeah, it's not, the place isn't going anywhere. You can always go back.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, where do we go now?
Let's see. I saw a question up above. I kind of skipped it because we were going. Let's see. Spiritual side. Define that.
Find spiritual side. So I think that's in regards to when I was talking about how I think there's a spiritual side to the paranormal. I think that's just because you're connecting with people who've crossed over, and it's like it can almost be a belief system. Almost that was kind of where I was going with it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I mean, in this, you got to be spiritual, believe,
I don't think you have to be spiritual.
You don't have to be spiritual in a, I don't know, that term can be used in so many different ways if you think about it. It depends on how you're talking about it.
Yeah. But for me, that's just all I'm getting at really is. I think you have a belief in the paranormal, and it's just, I don't know where I'm trying to go with that, but it's.
This topic does come up a lot in the paranormal. I know not everybody likes to talk about it, but religion aspects, I know a lot of people have, I don't think nobody has to be religious to be in the paranormal. Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing I can say, because I know a lot of people that are not religious and, are in the paranormal.
Yeah, I truly believe that atheists and anybody alike can do anything in the paranormal. So,
Ooh, does anyone in the crew have any upcoming events that they're really excited about? I have Paracon coming up in August in Oklahoma.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, John Zaffis yet again is a keynote speaker.
Oh, Zaffis is awesome.
Oh, I heard he's amazing.
Yeah. His show, what was it, Haunted Collector or something?
Yeah. Zaffis is amazing.
And then these two other guys, I'm not familiar because I don't have cable and stuff like that, but new special guests, Chris and Mike of Tennessee Wrath Chasers.
Don't know that one.
I've heard of them.
I have not heard of them ever, but
You've heard of them, John? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I have a friend named Travis that lives out there, and the Tennessee Wraith Chasers, I think they are. And he's actually told me about them, and I'm supposed to look them up, and I still haven't. And like my buddy, for a long time, he stayed home to take care of his mother and stuff, and he never really had any money, and so now he's got a job and everything, and I hardly ever talk to him now. But he was telling me, hey, look up these guys, man. Look up these guys. So I was like, okay, and I kind of forgot about it. And but he's from Tennessee. And he was talking about those guys do a lot of good stuff. So I'm pretty sure.
Stephen Dennis says this is one that you're into, John, and I know I was for a while too. What about the Dead Files?
I knew you were going to say that.
Amy Allen, I love Amy Allen. She is like one psychic that I really truly believe. Mm-hmm. I love Amy Allen. Definitely the Dead Files. Definitely. And Steve Duchavi, like Steve, the cop, just the way he is on skeptic about everything kind of thing. And, if you watch the seasons, you can see him kind of transform in his beliefs. But at the same time, he's down to a T, and he gets whatever he can get. And he makes sure that he works the case like a cop. I think there's only been a couple of times where him and Amy have had to consult while the case is going on because something was happening. I know that happened in one episode for sure, where they had to go to the person's house or something. But it's just so professionally done. And the only thing that really kind of disappoints me about the Dead Files is that they don't air everything that Amy says to the client. Because if you go on YouTube and you look up Amy Allen, you'll find a couple of 40-minute videos, 35 to 40-minute Q&A videos where she just says, I give them a list of 50 things, but a whole bunch of that ends up on the cutting room floor, and they hear 3, on television. So a lot of people, and it's just like, this is what she's doing. So I recommend, that's research. Look her up, and definitely look up her Q&As, because she's an incredibly interesting person. Follow her on Twitter, because she will actually respond to you. She's awesome. She'll actually talk to you. She's cool. So
one thing I like about the show is that when they're going into a house, they'll have someone cover everything up that could give her any clues as to what the case is about or who's involved or anything. They'll just cover everything up so that everything she gets is authentic, and there's
that man used to be her husband. I don't know if they're
really?
still together anymore. I think that might be her ex-husband now.
Yeah,
but he was her husband. I don't know though. I heard there was a divorce, but it was on the internet, so I don't know for sure.
Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
No.
But why would the internet lie?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
Speaking of paranormal shows, I have Roku, and I have this channel called paranormalreality.tv, and there's a really good one there called Truth Seekers, and it's like I think that's a pretty legit one, but they've got like 3 or 4 seasons on there, and it's just a team of 4 or 5 people, just like any other paranormal show, but they go to all these different places, and it's a really good one. So if no one's checked that out, I'd definitely recommend that.
That sounds awesome. I don't have Roku. I should look up that up. How does that work?
Roku is amazing, is what I hear.
Yeah, I've never actually downloaded it though. I probably should.
It's not a download. It's like there's like it's a streaming device, so you have to purchase the device and there's like different models, but
okay.
I hear it's worthwhile though.
Yeah. The channel itself is like $2.99 a month, which is a pretty good deal.
Okay.
So and they also have a free one as well, but I would recommend the pay one. Anyways, do they really, Wes? I'm sure they tell her something, but I love the show anyway. Well, yeah, they might tell her something, but how much did they tell her?
So I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, anything you see on TV has to have some kind of element of entertainment to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even reality shows are scripted.
Oh gosh,
all that stuff is scripted. It's scripted. I mean, I knew somebody actually that got taken onto a Canadian talk show where it was revealed that that this lady was being cheated on by her husband. So they basically told her ahead of time, and then they said, "We need you to embellish your reaction." So they told her to literally freak out. Like,
really?
The producer told her to like go nuts, like run off the stage, like, Maury Povich style, you are not the father, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I, there's some stuff on YouTube. If you check it out, they talk about how, like a lot of the small claims court shows, many of those people are not judges. They've never actually been a judge. Like, it's just a television thing. They're paid actors. That's why at the end, it says the plaintiff and the defendant both get paid a certain amount of money. If there's a judgment to defend, whatever, blah, blah, blah. If you read that at the end, that's basically saying these are paid actors.
Pretty much.
Yep. So but they're still fun to watch when they make.
Movies.
Oh yeah.
That's about entertainment at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, I find some of them on YouTube and check them out.
Mm-hmm. It's as diabolical when it says in the chat. Ultimately, you make a good show, which that's the truth.
Yeah,
that's what it's about: making a good show, getting people to watch it, and
just putting the content out there, man.
Yeah.
But how do you think that affects the field is my question.
By flooding, like
well, I don't know. It's like I have heard. Well, at least I feel like I'm hearing like a lot of a lot more paranormal shows are showing up on TV. It seems like, and they've become widely popular.
Yeah, I do agree.
I think it leaves people with unrealistic expectations if they are actually having a paranormal investigation done in their home. I think that they'll expect things that don't actually happen or things to be done a certain way when that's not usually the case.
Yeah, I really agree with you there. I think you can even see it on some of like, the newer ones when they go in and the family's expecting something and they're kind of like, well, this is going on and we got a little bit of this, but we didn't really get much, Like, it seems like your house might, well, you might only need to do a couple of things, and they seem to get upset, and you never know. I mean, sometimes not every investigation you go to bears fruit. So, but at the same time, you know, um,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, people might also be expecting more too, in the sense that they might be expecting you to be coming with like a TV production team or something like that, or
yeah,
all
yeah.
that, all that
No,
crap.
no. If somebody asks me to show up, I mean, I'm going to show up with a couple of different boxes, and I do have like a video camera that I need to like kind of get working again. But like that would probably pretty much be it. I mean, and I'd be doing it for free, obviously. It's not like I'm, going to go out there and charge people anything to do something like that if they ask me, So, I mean, I'm not in a big paranormal group or anything like that anymore. So it's been years since I've gone out and done that. But there's a couple of places in town I'd sure love to do videos on and that. But that's for a different time. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of places here too. There's a bar in town. I can't remember what it's called anymore because it's like changed owners a couple times. But there was the original owner, whose name is Abe. He's passed away, and every now and then when they're doing construction or changing something up in the bar, things will go a little bit wonky with their systems, or there'll be like strange things happening there. And what they'll do, and they've also tried to do an exorcism of the place there, and they've actually got crosses molded into the basement walls.
whoa.
And when something is happening, the whole bunch of strange things will happen. And what they'll do is they'll bring a beer downstairs, they'll put on the floor and say, and they'll explain, sorry, Abe, we are actually doing this or that, and this is what's going on. So here's a beer for you. We're sorry that it's disrupting you. And then all of a sudden, like all the activity that's going on will stop. So that's like,
Wow.
yeah, that's one of
Wow, that's
the
pretty
locations.
that's awesome actually, because like they're choosing, like I am with Mr. Grant in my house, to coexist. And what do you call it? Just recently, the other day, my girlfriend's sister was upstairs and she came down. She was talking to her and she said that she felt a hand across her cheek. I
Mm-hmm.
just like, and I figured that was probably Mr. Grant, just saying hello type thing. He's not a
Yeah.
pervert or anything like that. But
Hello.
yeah, no, he's not a pervert.
Oh,
But
hello there.
yeah, but that was really interesting to me to hear it, because it kind of freaked her out, and I'm like, you don't got to worry
Uh-huh.
about it. Like it's not evil. And so yeah, that's interesting to and just with everything, I mean, I kind of forgot where I was going. I'm sorry, dudes.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
you're fine.
I'm sorry. Kind of forgot where I was going. It's been a long few days, so.
Yeah, my whole week's been off just because with Memorial Day, having a day off is just kind of like, what? What's a day off?
What's the day off?
But I took vacation
Yeah.
all this week, so.
Yeah, I have a lot of days off coming up. I stopped being a manager just because it was too stressful for me. I'm like, well, what do I want more? Peace of mind or lots of money? And I chose peace of mind. So I'm working less hours, and I've got like 12 hours next week, which is kind of bad, but kind of good in two different ways. So it's kind of nice.
You know what?
And nothing wrong with taking time off for your mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? My girlfriend had to do that. She pretty much gave, like, I gave up a full-time cooking position and at the old folks home there. But I mean, she got called into work today. I mean, on Sunday, she was calling her sisters to wake them up because they were so short-handed. It was just her and her grandmother, because her grandmother works there, and they had to feed 100 people and pour juice and coffee and everything else because somebody
Mhm.
called in drunk and two other people called in sick. So. You know what I mean? And so then my girlfriend went in today. So I mean,
Mhm.
like, sometimes she'll pull like over full-time hours
Mhm.
just by covering other people's shifts. It's crazy. And the
Yeah.
reason why she stopped cooking, she was working 14, 16 days in a row. And I'm like, you can't do that, babe. You got to take a break, or otherwise you stress out and you burn. And that's what kind of happened. And so she needed to take a step back, and the manager there was not, I guess, he was not as understanding. So she took a step back, and then he was like, well, you did the right. He treated her like shit for a while. And now that she's indispensable and she can do any shift, she's always the one that gets called first in the morning and that. So,
Mhm.
yep. So that's all. I don't know if that, if that happens much where you're working out or whatever, but you can always, pick up
Oh
some
yeah,
extra hours and stuff like that. And,
it
because
does happen.
in the end, man, your mental health is always more important than whatever job you have.
Very much
That
That's
so.
for sure.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you are a partner at a really prestigious firm, you know what I mean? Like a
Hmm.
law firm. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you are miserable doing it, eventually you're toast and you're just, I hate my job. I hate my life, and you just don't want that,
Hmm.
And so I
Yep.
completely understand where you're coming from because I'm disabled and
Hmm.
I'm the opposite way. I'm like, if they could give me a pill that would fix everything, I'd
Hmm.
be like pounding the pavement, handing out resumes tomorrow. Like, this
Yeah.
is my qualifications. Put me in a machine shop. Like,
Hmm.
whatever. Like, this is what I can do. I can lift stuff, load trucks, whatever you want. Get me out there working. It's better than making,
Hmm.
nothing on disability. So that's
Oh
the way
yeah.
I feel. Yep. Yeah, if they could give me a magic pill today, I'd be out there tomorrow looking for work. Right
Hmm.
tomorrow morning, pounding the pavement. Where you got job, you got a job, you got a job. Straight up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Shout out. Okay. Shout out to Darlene Lee, the Dream Girl on YouTube. She's just started a new YouTube channel, and we've got an investigation
Awesome.
going um, on her channel. It's actually going to be first part is going to be on her channel. The second part's going to be on mine. And yeah, she just started that up. I think she's got like 4 subscribers so far, which is cool.
I
But
subbed.
Oh,
you
no, I
did
got a
awesome.
sub. I didn't even
I
know.
subbed. I subbed. She subbed to me, and I subbed. I seen Dream Girl, and I was like, oh, I know who that is, and and
Right
I
on.
even hit the bell for notifications too.
Sweet, yeah. She's looking really forward to it. She was scared for a while, but a lot of stuff that Zara said when she was on actually hit home with her,
Yeah.
and now she's not as afraid to do this stuff as she was before, and she's like, okay, I've got, and she's like gets these visions and connections, and she's
Hmm.
wanting to go certain places now, and so we're doing that together, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty exciting.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that
I'm
really
I,
is the dynamic
I'm
duo.
jealous. I'm
Mm-hmm.
jealous.
Yeah.
I'm jealous,
You're
bro.
jealous.
Yeah, my girlfriend loves to shoot the commandant stuff. She loves
Mhm.
to shoot all that, but the paranormal still kind of weirds her out. But I'm getting there, so
Mhm.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just another way for us to connect, which is awesome, and
Well, yeah,
that we're able to do that is so cool.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, but yeah, Meg said I need to give her a shout out, so I gave her a shout out.
I'm glad you did
Yeah,
because I
no.
wasn't aware.
Yeah, so it's the Dream Girl. If you guys want to go over and give her, give her a sub and check out. I think she's got a
Check.
couple other videos on there. I'm not sure what she has on there. I really am not being too good about watching her stuff because I've been working, but just
Shame. No, I'm kidding.
yes, yeah, but
No, I
yeah,
checked
she's.
one video, gave her a thumbs up too, and welcome on that video. So made a comment down there.
Yeah,
Nice one.
she did a good talk about the investigation we're doing, and I'm going to be uploading that soon. I have to actually show her the finished product of the video first before I can upload it, though.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That'll give me time to get
Yeah,
that voice in for you, bro.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to put that on my channel actually. Just
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. I love helping people out that way. If I can, I'll do it. And you're my brother, so I'll go the extra mile for
yeah,
you, no problem.
yeah, yeah. So I've got a video I'm putting together for my channel that's going to be with the ghost box, and I'm going to do like a little coming soon thing on it, and yeah, John's going to do the intro, which is sweet. So thanks, man.
That's
No
gonna be
worries,
cool.
man. No
Yeah.
worries.
I need to catch up on videos actually. All this week. That's part of my plan. Get my videos uploaded and check out everybody.
I got to do sessions. I'm behind on my sessions, so I've
Oh,
even got a request to do a session in the back of the place where it's cut off. There's like a storage thing in there, and there's always been a little pair of children's rubber willies, but they're like red, and it's just really weird that they're in there. So I'm
Huh.
finally gonna take a box in there, and I'm gonna do a couple sessions back there. despite the cobwebs and the spiders that scare me. But you know, I'll still go. I'm more afraid of spiders than I am of spirits.
I know. I find so many people are
I was
afraid
thinking
of
the same thing.
spiders.
Like when the question went out, is there anything that would freak you out? I'm thinking, oh, maybe if I saw a snake or something, if I was like out in the wilderness or something, dude.
I love snakes and spiders.
Do you?
Yeah, I really do. I'm honest. I just know which ones to avoid.
Yeah. The big hairy guys just trip me out, but I do like the trapdoor spider. He's cool.
Yeah, we don't get anything. We don't really get anything like super venomous.
Oh, thank God!
Yeah.
No brown recluse bites, nothing like that.
Yeah. No black widows or anything, unless it comes from a strange place.
Yeah, it's terrible. Oh my God! No, my buddy from Tennessee would catch bugs and show me pictures of them in jars, and they had these big eyes. And I'm like, oh my God! Like, you know, like, how come you didn't throw a shoe at that thing? You know?
Oh my goodness!
That's what I would have done. And he would catch these bugs. He loved all these kinds of bugs, and he'd put them in jars. He was like, "No, it's my pet." I'm like, "You're crazy."
Yeah, Darlene's the same way. She'll see its threats. She's like, "Oh my God, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it."
That's my husband.
That's me with wasps. I hate wasps.
Gosh, you guys wouldn't survive very long in Texas. We've got brown recluse, all sorts of snakes.
You get rattlers up there?
Yes, we do actually.
Yeah. Oh man, wow. That freaked me out. Yeah, I absolutely hate snakes.
I like them because back when I grew up, we used to go out to the cabin in the springtime. They have a snake pit out there, eh? In the springtime, the garter snakes spawn. So you run out there and you can grab a big old female. She'll be jerking around, but they don't bite. They're just those garter snakes, and you see them on the highway. And our cabin, the family cabin, is down the highway and then just up like that. So I'd go walk down the highway from the campground as a kid when I'd go find kids to play with at the campground. And I would see snakes going across, and I'd grab one up, and hang around with them for a little while and then put them back in the thing and let him go off on his way. And now they got foxes out there. And they got two. There's a red fox and there's a gray fox. And there was an old guy. His name was Mr. Abram. And he taught me how to water ski and everything when I was a kid. And his son now has the cabin. And his son puts food out for the foxes. And so now everybody's been kind of feeding these foxes. And now the puppy Maya likes to go chase the foxes. But, you know, there's no harm, no foul. But these, you know, it's so interesting because like he'll be walking and you'll see the fox behind him, and he'll be following the young Mr. Abram, you know, my mom was telling me. So it's really funny. I'd love to see it. I want to go out to the lake one last time before I'm not probably going to be able to go out there anymore. So, and I love foxes because I had a little fox buddy when I was like 10, 11. Yeah, he was three-legged too. He actually chewed off one of his paws.
Oh my gosh!
He was in a trap. Yeah. And I would walk up on the rock, and he would walk down in the little gorge below kind of thing. It was just a little bit of a slant, and so he would walk down there, and I'd walk up here, and he would walk with me all the time, and he'd look up at me, and I'd be like, "Hey, little man," and I just keep walking, and I guess he knew I wasn't gonna hurt him or nothing, and you know. And then so he was my little buddy for a few years, and then he passed away, obviously, you know. So that was that. But yeah.
I'm a girl, so I like cute things.
I love foxes, man. They're awesome.
Cool. All right. So, I don't know. Where do we go now?
I don't know. What time is it?
It is 7:20 my time, so which would make it 6:20 your time.
Yeah, 6:20 for me too. You guys cool with wrapping this up for me, or?
Sure, we can do that. No problem.
That's cool.
Okay.
We wrap it up. I think we've.
So we're all good.
I know. I'm just sitting here at 30, right?
Sorry, John. You said you're gonna wrap it up. I thought you were gonna wrap it up. But yeah, I guess that does it for this week. Thanks so much, Ray, for coming on. It was awesome having you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
So much. Yeah, I really want to bring you back. There's a few of you guys we want to bring back and have recurring guests. So
yes, that'd be fantastic. Anytime.
That's so awesome. Right on. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh no! Like I said, thanks for having me. So I love this podcast. Definitely will be shouting you guys out more often because I'm loving it.
Thank you. That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us here on Beyond the Beyond. We'll be back probably next Monday with another episode.
Yes,
maybe
sir.
sooner than that. We shall see. Anyways, guys, take care and see you next time.
See you next time, everybody, and much love. Take care, Rachel. Take care, Wes. We'll talk soon.
Yes, we will. Adios, guys.
Bye-bye.